Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, the Shark, and Strkyer. Today is our 143rd episode, and we're talking about the 1987, the Real Ghostbusters episode, I Am the City, for our Halloween special of 2025. So, let's get things started.
Austin makes me feel good.
Yeah, that the Real Ghostbusters will return after those messages.
Neat.
Nice.
Go ahead, Shark.
When there's something strange in your neighborhood, who are you gonna call? Luigi. Wait a minute, I think the wrong answer. No, wait. Oh yeah, Ghostbusters!
Ghostbusters are the policemen, but that works too.
Ghostbusters was an insanely popular movie, which, of course, led to an animated spin-off. Now, the reason it's called The Real Ghostbusters is really fascinating, and this is because Filmation, the infamous animation studio behind He-Man, had a TV show called Ghostbusters in the 1970s. It was live action, and it starred Larry Storch and Forrest Tucker from F-Troop, along with a talking gorilla, as they fought ghosts and monsters and that. It's really bad and really terrible, and no one remembers it aside from it sharing the name of the Ghostbusters movie. Now, when the movie came out, Filmation pretty much churned out an animated version of Ghostbusters just to capitalize on it, because they knew they had the rights to the Ghostbusters name for television. So they cranked out a cartoon version of their Ghostbusters live-action show from the 70s as quickly as possible. This show was called The Real Ghostbusters to thumb their nose at the other Ghostbusters show.
I remember about this somewhere. It's hilarious.
Yep. Amazing. Anyway, go ahead, Angron.
Fun fact, on top of being middlemaned by Deke, of all people, aka Do It Cheap, which you can tell with this show,
Very much
it
so.
was also animated by the same people who did Voltron, Transformers, D&D, and, say it with me now, One Piece. Oh, and Dragon Ball as well.
Wow.
So, yep, Toei animated this show.
I think I am one of only like 5 people in existence that has ever actually seen the animated Ghostbusters series. And in a vacuum, isn't terrible. It's stupid, it's cheesy, it's gimmicky, but it's entertaining for what it is. But yeah, you can tell that they made this purely because, oh hey, the movie did well. We own the name of the thing that it's based on. Money.
Money!
Yep, exactly. The episode begins with a theme song, which, of course, is set to the song Ghostbusters, which is a great choice because Ghostbusters is a great song, even if Huey Lewis tried to sue because of it, thinking that it sounded too much like I Want a New Drug.
I hear no resemblance, to be honest.
Same. It's one of those things where the bass line is a little similar, but aside from that, I don't know if there was a case behind it, but regardless, this is actually a re-recorded version of it. They don't use the Ray Parker Jr. version for whatever reason, probably not to pay royalties or something, which kind of a shame, but regardless. The intro itself begins with the no ghosts ghost walking down the street before we see the Ghostbusters get a call and climb into the Ecto-1, while Slimer follows them, kissing Janine before leaving. The Ghostbusters then face a wide variety of different ghosts, including the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and they all use their proton packs on the ghosts. It's a really great intro, really tells what the show's about, and again, it being set to the Ghostbusters song is just perfection. Go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Like, from the get-go, you know exactly what you're in for, and again, the fact that Toei animated all this, the intro and the series as a whole, it really shows how much love was put into this series, despite, Deke manning the helm, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But anyways, Math?
My favorite part of the intro, and again, this is because of my behind-the-scenes knowledge, is that when they show the Ghostbusters logo at the end of the intro, one of those little orb spirit things flies onto the screen, and then it pops in The Real. Basically just as a giant middle finger to Filmation.
I love that detail.
This episode itself begins in the Ghostbusters firehouse as Egon is busy working while the other 3 Ghostbusters and Slimer sleep. Suddenly, an earthquake strikes, waking up the other 3, as Winston is the first to get out of bed, saying, "No more cheese before bed for this guy." And one thing I want to point out, Winston is not voiced by Ernie Hudson, even though Ernie Hudson auditioned to reprise his role. which is just crazy because you got the guy from the movie wanting to reprise his role for the cartoon. Why didn't you get him back?
Exactly. Yeah. I guess it's because since it's a cartoon, a TV show, they didn't want to pay so much for the real actor himself.
Yeah, that checks out. Also, a few other voices of the Ghostbusters themselves involve Frank Welker and the voice of Garfield himself.
We'll talk more about Lorenzo Music's involvement in a little bit. Matt, you were going to say?
I'm convinced the reason they didn't use Ernie Hudson to voice himself is because, as Lorenzo Music, we found out from him, he just sounds too much like the real guy.
That's the point!
Infamously, Bill Murray was so upset at Lorenzo Music voicing Venkman that Lorenzo Music got fired and was replaced with Dave Coulier from Full House. And people were really surprised that Bill Murray was a jerk when 30 years later, all those stories about him came out.
Oh boy, yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Chuck.
Another reason that might have also been the reason they didn't cast him is because maybe it was some sort of all-in or non-all because we need them all. Like, if only one has the original voice, it's gonna be distracting. Maybe audiences are gonna question why we didn't get them all, so we can't use only one. We have to use them all or not use any of them.
That also makes sense.
We see that Egon is hiding under a table as Winston says it's an earthquake, as Egon responds with, "In New York City?" We then cut to the streets being destroyed as a police car drives through it before flipping over. An officer steps out and tries to radio to his superiors but gets nothing. Meanwhile, smoke billows out of a subway station as one of the officers tells the other to get a camera, but then a red ball of energy comes out. One officer asks the other, "Did you get it on film?" as the other one says that that's not right over the red ball of light. But unfortunately, we know that the red ball of light is not Pennywise the Dancing Clown because he was the villain in last week's show.
Nor is he Frieza, escaping from the sewers for some reason after being owned by Goku again.
The officer without the camera says that he'll try to flag down a car, while the officer with the camera runs back to the station. The red ball of light flies to the sky before landing outside of a rooftop apartment, and it then smashes into the ground before turning what appears to be a four-eyed Oni, before the creature then transforms itself to a man in a business suit. Obviously, judging from its appearance, it's Trigon returning to Earth after being beaten by Raven.
Nice.
Raven, your dad's back.
Foreshadowing for the future. As the man enters the building, we then cut to the Ghostbusters preparing to use the Ecto-1. Venkman jokes to Egon that it wasn't very nice of you to hold a party and not invite us, as Ray laughs. And again, Lorenzo Music does such a good job capturing the vibes of Peter Venkman. I don't know why Bill Murray would be upset by this performance,
I don't know why either. He absolutely nails the feel of Venkman, and yeah, sure, it's pretty much Lorenzo Music. He did Garfield, and that's reflected here a little bit, and a little bit of Narc and sort of Deadpool-style wit isn't exactly as noticeable with this version of Venkman as it is with the Bill Murray one. But I'm sorry, I really enjoy this. He's still he's still got the snark, he's still somewhat of an egotist a little bit. He's laid back, he's got that big Lebowski thing going on, dude. And I like it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know why Bill Murray was so mad either, but this right here does him a lot more justice than he's ever going to give credit for.
Egon tries telling the others that it was not an earthquake, as Winston jokes that it was more like an urban renewal program. Obviously, they did that wrong because you should have had Raymond Burr look at him with a look of disgust on his face. If you don't get that joke, watch Godzilla 85 if you haven't. Egon then continues to yell at them, saying that it was not a normal earthquake and that the psychic reading was off the charts. Ray is interested in seeing it, saying, "Do you know what this means?" And I do love Beckman's response here. "Yeah, they'll blame us and make us pay for it." It's called back to seconds later because after Egon says that won't happen, the two police officers from earlier arrive, and I do love this joke. It's just like the perfect punchline to it. Egon starts banging his fist on the Ecto-1 and saying, "I knew it, I knew it, I knew it." It's just Lorenzo Music's delivery. It is so fantastic.
Yes.
Let's see, go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, I love how that might be a lampshade how many cartoons back then and even now have the tendency of having the public blame the heroes for whatever reason. Like here, an earthquake? Oh, it totally was the Ghostbusters somehow.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Strkyer.
I might be backtracking a little bit, but like I remember like that's so in character for Ray to be excited about some ghost activity. He always is super excited about this stuff. And Venkman always is the downer by saying, "Do we really have to?" or something like that. He does not want to be here right now.
Yeah, he's definitely just the kind of guy who just goes in the break room and just is never seen again for about an hour.
He's the Squidward of the group.
On the topic of people blaming the protagonist, oh my goodness, an earthquake just rocked the entirety of New York. This has Spider-Man written all over him. Someone get me a document about him right now.
The two officers are instead there to ask the Ghostbusters about a picture. It turns out to be a picture of the red being from earlier, as Winston notes that, quote, "It looks like a red hot dog with legs." The officer asks if they can catch it, as Venkman says it won't be a problem. As they leave, Egon tells Venkman that he said he could catch it, but they don't even know what it is. Venkman then says that they're going to look up the entity in Tobin's spirit guide under flying hot dogs, which I think that'd be more Slimer's thing, flying hot dogs, and we got to see about that.
You know, it would be. It is. I know these characters by heart.
Go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, I can only think about that one scene in the Better Sim episode where the giant hamster, where Sim tries to lure it with a giant hot dog, and there's a soldier that sees the giant hot dog, and he's like, "Oh, now we're being attacked by giant hot dogs. I hate hot dogs!"
Then cut to the pier as a dock worker watches a tour boat go past the QE2 cruise liner. Another boat then arrives and crashes into the tour boat, causing the latter to start sinking. We all know who it is, of course. It was SpongeBob, because today is his final exam, and if he does not pass this one, it is a whole nother year of boating school. It turns out that the dock worker then turns to the red entity from earlier as he flies to the ship, diving under the water. As the boat continues to sink, the passengers all panic before the red entity picks up the boat out of the water and lands it safely in the harbor. The passengers all cheer, unaware of just who or what saved them. One passenger then points out the entity, who just waves at them before flying off. One of the captains asks the other who their savior was, as the other one says he doesn't care as they are safe no matter what. We then cut to the Ghostbusters hearing about the boat incident on the radio, as Egon types in the information of the entity on their 80s computer, which really is just some classic 1980s computering right here. I mean, your modern smartphone probably has 50,000 times the processing power as this thing did.
One thing I liked about the rescue scene, if you didn't know this was animated by Toei before, look at the crowd as they're cheering. That looks Toei as shit for the 80s.
I can't help but think, like, what is that computer? Commodore or an MS-DOS? I can't help it. I like old tech like this.
Also, it's pretty interesting seeing this giant horned red demon looking guy just pull a Superman and save an entire ship like that. It's definitely a unique take on that sort of ghost or demon, and it wouldn't exactly be the first time Ghostbusters did this.
And it wouldn't be the last either. Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, they were playing with expectations because, oh, you see how this guy entered by earthquake of all things, all red, he looks like a demon. Oh, he's going to be the enemy of the, oh wait, he's saving people. What's going on here?
Yeah, are we looking at the right script here? It says Red Demon Guy saves people? What is this, Hellboy? No, we hadn't invented that yet. Oh, okay.
Nice. It turns out that the entity is Marduk, who is a Babylonian god of cities. In a really cute callback, Winston remarks that he was hoping they wouldn't have to deal with any more gods after what happened with Gozer. I like that they do that. A nice little callback to the original film. Ray notes that Marduk seems like a good guy, as Venkman brings up about the earthquake. When Ray retorts with the ferry boat, Venkman jokes that he probably wanted it because he has a really big bathtub. And pitch perfect characterization here. And again, I don't want to sound like broken record, but I don't get what Bill Murray had about Lorenzo Music, because he is pitch perfect. I really feel that he would have been almost good in the movie if he had like a different appearance in that. But he really just nails the personality and the tone. Absolutely perfect. What happens next is Winston wonders what Marduk wants in New York, as Ray asks they can find out by asking him. I do like how Winston interrupts Ray by saying that, no, you ask him, and when he tells you what he wants, then you can call me. I like that they do that. They really give Winston a great character, as he's the everyman. He's the guy who has like no idea about any of this. He wasn't a paranormal researcher or anything like that. the reason he, of course, joined the Ghostbusters is, as we all know, if there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll do anything you say.
Winston is that fourth Braddock guy that's there just for the hell of it, but he's also having a little bit of a good time doing it as well. Like, he has no idea what's going on, and yet when the chips are down, you can rely on him. Funny you mention Everyman, because I hear Everyman and all I can think of is Larry from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and honestly, Winston's better because he has more personality and more like emotion compared to Salaryman, who pretty much does every job in the entirety of Paldea.
I can kind of see that, but at the same time, he's really such a great character. And again, I love that the show really did a lot more with Winston compared to the movie because he kind of was a fourth wheel. And not to go too much on a tangent here, but originally he was going to be played by Eddie Murphy. In the movie, Winston was going to be played by Eddie Murphy, but Murphy was busy doing Beverly Hill Cop, and the rest is history. Egon interrupts them all by saying that they have a different problem, as Venkman says, "Oh, there's always a problem." It turns out that Marduk's mortal enemy is none other than Tiamat, who is a giant five-headed dragon, and Tiamat may have followed Marduk to their realm. Now, there's a reason we're covering this show, and that is because Tiamat canonically is a goddess. Despite the fact that the show uses male pronouns to refer to her, Tiamat is female. It has always been female, so that is why we are covering this. Kind of a flimsy excuse, but hey, when else are we going to be able to talk about Ghostbusters?
Exactly. Also, on that topic, this honestly wouldn't be the first or last time that a show would do something like this, make a canonically female character with male pronouns. Nessie is a big one, but later down the line in the 90s, we would get Blue Eyes White Dragon in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Pyramid of Light movie, and Kaiba decides to call her a him, which sucks, but whatever. It was immediately undone in the next few episodes or so. So she's female, and so is Tiamat in our eyes.
I think the reason why they refer to Tiamat as male in Ghostbusters is because they probably did not have the information at the time. It is common for a lot of shows around this time, or even just anything fiction, to have some lack of information. Oh, hey, Tiamat sounds like a cool dragon. Let's have him in this.
It's a her. Did I stutter?
Probably what it was. Just some lack of information, but that's just my theory.
What happens is Venkman sarcastically says that he's so happy to hear about that, then says he's going to leave to bang his head against the wall several times. We then cut to Central Park where a policeman on a horse rides up to a homeless man and bangs on him with his nightstick. The homeless man just nuzzles the officer's horse before running off, where he then reveals himself to be Marduk, who then turns himself into a sailor. Marduk in his sailor disguise then calls a taxi and leaves, just as a green ball of light flies to the ground, and we know what that green ball is here to do. It's going to go into the Ghostbusters headquarters, it's going to melt the Ghostbusters, then it's going to show Janine at least 5 or 6 short stories. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Heavy Metal, my mistake. That's the other 80s property with the giant green floating ball of light in it. Turns out that it is not Lochnar, it is none other than Tiamat, as she arrives in a pillar of flame, roaring loudly and waving all of her heads. And what's interesting about this version is that Tiamat here is green-scaled and has red eyes, with all of its eyes looking identical. And I will say this, it probably was easier to animate, but I don't know, it's hard for me to like this design because I am so used to the one from the D&D cartoon, because I love how they did that with all the heads having different properties, having a different personality, and it really is something so creative that just seeing something like this where it's like, let's do King Ghidorah, but painted green and add 2 more heads. It feels off, you know?
Yeah, I understand that to a degree, and I 100% agree. Stuff like D&D and Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, Tiamat isn't exactly in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but Five-Headed Dragon exists, so we'll count that. But yeah, shows like those who managed to make a unique five-headed dragon are pretty nice and can ultimately get Tiamat across a lot better than Ghostbusters did. That said, I will admit that Tiamat in this isn't too bad. Like you said, it's basically just a Hydra with red eyes, which hooray for the day that Konami eventually adds that to Yu-Gi-Oh! I will admit that this design is 100% alright. Not great, not terrible, but it could be better. Anyways, go ahead, Math.
For this being an 80s show, and for them probably not knowing the character that they are using that well, she still looks pretty damn good. It's really good animation, and the just sheer scale and size of her is pretty impressive for this being this era of animation. I will give them props for that.
Another missed opportunity is could have had Tiamat from D&D there because, as everyone knows, Tiamat and Slimer were both voiced by Frank Welker.
Just get him to play every beast.
Except Tiamat actually talked, so Frank Welker did the voice of Tiamat when she was speaking. We then cut to a New York City traffic jam. As it turns out, the reason behind all of this is the Ecto-1. It turns out the device on the roof is broken, as Venkman asks if they have to do it in the middle of the road. Ray responds that they don't want to lose the signal. We then see an angry driver confront the Ghostbusters, saying, "Who do you think you are?" Winston, of course, says that they're the Ghostbusters, as Venkman tells the man to back off, or we'll vaporize your pants, pilgrim. And, okay, weird time for Venkman to turn to the genie from Aladdin to do random impressions here. That's more of what Venkman later on would do. Egon then continues to work on the device as it spins and points towards the driver, who then runs off in his car. Venkman then says how he likes to think of himself as tough but fair after the others compliment him. Egon then manages to fix the device and says that Marduk is heading north. The Ecto-1 then drives off, banging into things as it quickly drives to the city, and this is the Ghostbusters Crazy Taxi spin-off we have all been waiting for.
Exactly.
Right?
Because there's lots of shots of the Ecto-1 just driving through the streets crazily in that, and it is a little bit too much. I want to talk about why in just a little bit, but I feel like you really could have just cut this segment down, like maybe even like a minute, and it would have worked out better, but we'll find out why in a sec. Oh, go ahead, Strkyer.
The whole thing with them driving so recklessly is actually normal for the Ghostbusters. They actually do that even in the movie, but it's even more exaggerated in the cartoon. And of course, later, the video games. They're just trying to get to their location as fast as possible so they can get rid of the ghost. It is extremely ridiculous.
The video game is really a lot of fun too. I highly recommend it if you haven't played it. It is fantastic. It is the real Ghostbusters 3 that we deserve. Egon then says that he is then picking up something else on the ghost meter, as Venkman says to them to deal with only one ghost at a time. We then cut back to Central Park as two joggers run into that tunnel, but then quickly run out, followed by an older woman, two tourists, and the police officer from earlier. Fire begins to shoot out from the tunnel as Tiamat emerges, and she roars, with one of her heads then attacking the camera. This is a good part. It's a good to show how Tiamat is really fierce, but one thing that this show doesn't do to its detriment, we don't get too much of Tiamat being a threat. Maybe if we saw her like trying to knock down a building or attack all sorts of people, like just rampaging a little bit. She does not really leave the park for most of the episode, and it's so strange.
That might honestly be on the part of Deke, to be perfectly honest, especially since they were worked on the show. And I do admit that this version of Tiamat is kind of tame. Like, at most, you could probably have like the entirety of Central Park be on fire thanks to Tiamat, but they don't really do that. I mean, sure, they have her breathe fire, but even then, still nothing. Not that much damage is going on, which is, yeah, again, kind of sucky. Go ahead, Shark.
Oh, no, you see, it's because they're building it up. Oh, she's doing almost nothing now because they're building it for a moment. She's going to be something super mega epic in the climax. Just wait. They're surely going to do it.
I'll have to wait and see about that. Anyway, go ahead, Strkyer.
Because we wouldn't have had room in the budget.
Anyway, go ahead, Math.
Yeah, I am 100% sure we did not get more Tiamat scenes because Deke said, you know how much it would cost us to pay Toei to do that? No, we gotta have the Ghostbusters run around empty hallways playing hide and seek with the ghosts.
Yep, and we're going to get to that right now. We then cut to the Grand Central Station, where the Ghostbusters arrive, looking for Marduk. Egon tells them to use their PKE meters and set it to infinite, and they shouldn't do that, because if you set it to infinite, you're just going to be vulnerable to thwomp. The points in the meters then all point in various different directions as they find nothing before Venkman goes off on a security guard. He tells Egon it's not working as Egon says that's Marduk. Marduk then turns into his true form, then turns into a nun and runs off as the Ghostbusters chase him down. Oh, go ahead, Strkyer.
I couldn't help but mention, I don't remember PKE meters having that setting. Infinite. I'm sorry, when was this established? I remember watching the movies when I was a kid, and it's just, excuse me, what?
Egon and Venkman then all run down to the train area, before Venkman says this may take longer than he thought because there's hundreds of thousands of passengers there. Winston, meanwhile, is looking around before finding that Marduk is disguised as a boy, before the entity then turns into a businessman and runs onto a train. Ray then has his meter go off and bumps into Egon. And I do like this joke. At first, Ray doesn't know if Egon is really Egon, then Egon sheepfully admits that, oh, it's just feedback. That actually got a good laugh out of me. Venkman then says that they found somebody out of place there, as it turns out there's a guy dressed as Santa Claus in the train station, and I will say this, they're lucky that Hermie the Third wasn't there.
Oh boy.
We know how he feels about Santa. Anyway, go ahead, Shark.
I love how the people in the area aren't bothered about people becoming red and then changing forms. And, well, maybe the Ghostbusters are familiar, but, like, nobody reacts to the guy changing forms with a red light at all. Really?
It's so strange, you know? I get that New Yorkers know that ghosts exist in that, but at the same time, it that much of an underreaction. It's not like Men in Black where they have like neural eyes and they can make everyone forget that, oh my god, I just saw an alien run down the street, you know?
Yeah.
How do they hide it? Anyway, go ahead, Matt.
I would actually argue that this is actually great detail because this is in keeping with the New York spirit. Fuck it, I'm not paid enough to be weirded out by this shit.
Nice.
Perfect. But Egon then welcomes him as Venkman points out that his appearance is out of place, as he then turns into a human detective. Marduk then explains that he is the god of cities, and that he has been to many cities throughout his long lifespan, but none of them are better than New York. And I'm sorry, you're just trying to be a suck up there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh no, don't put me in the containment field. I love New York.
This 100% feels like an excuse for someone on the writing staff to be like, oh goodness, I love New York. It's where the Ghostbusters live and all that stuff.
He then says that he's settling down in New York and is there to help, as Venkman says about him, quote, making his own subway stations. And this is a line that just feels so out of place and weird because nothing like that even happened. Like, there was no illusionary subway station or anything like that. Another set of words I never thought I'd have to say. It's so weird. It's kind of like in the Goonies where Data at the end says, oh, the octopus was big and scary, despite the fact that there wasn't an octopus for most of the movie. There was one in a deleted scene, but then they cut that out, and they still left in the mention of it. I feel like they did kind of a similar thing here. Egon mentions Tiamat as Marduk gets angry, saying that he lost Tiamat in ancient China, and that Tiamat never will follow them there. Winston then points out Tiamat is literally just flying through the sky out the window, and it's like, Marduk did not notice this, that his most hated enemy was there literally just outside all this time? Maybe if he had spent less time playing Shapeshifter and more time actually doing your job, you probably could have fought them.
Clearly, omnipotence was not on his side.
If I pretend I don't see it, then it's not my problem.
Yeah, it's like the whole philosophy of, I can't see you, you can't see me, or something like that.
Marduk yells at this, and one thing I have to point out, for some reason, his yell sounds exactly like the yell of the muscle fish from the Fry Cook games.
Huh.
Eh.
Nice.
The god then transforms to his true self, saying that his eternal battle will take place once again, and he will fight Tiamat there. Venkman says if they do that, they'll destroy the city, as Marduk says that they cannot stop them, and asks if they are gods. And here we get the funniest joke of the episode, where Venkman prepares to answer that, but Winston covers his mouth, telling him, don't even go there, man. Because what happened last time when a god asked them if they were gods, giant marshmallow man tried destroying the city.
Yeah, that's a nice little callback to the first movie. I'm sure there's a lot of other callbacks in this show, but I think that one right there takes the cake.
Winston says that they won't stop Marduk, but instead they're trying to help him. Marduk doesn't believe them, as Winston says that they keep the damage to a minimum, with Venkman responding with, we call that strategy. We then cut to the Ecto-1 driving off as guards wait outside, and I do like that. One thing that I have to say that I do like is how the show treats the Ghostbusters. Compared to like the second movie where it's, oh, no one believes in ghosts anymore, it was all an illusion. And it's like a 60-foot tall marshmallow man destroyed the city and exploded with marshmallow goo all over the place. And that was a hoax. At least this is a little more realistic in that they're trying to help the Ghostbusters deal with any sort of supernaturalness. And I do like that.
Yep.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, it's neat when a show of this kind actually has the normal people address that, oh yeah, strange things do happen here, and when they happen, we have to be wary or we have to trust in the people that will get rid of that. Hopefully not at the level of Powerpuff Girls where they're like, hey, watch out with the paint when a giant monster walks by.
The song Ghostbusters play again, an instrumental version of it rather, as Egon, driving the Ecto-1, calls for Venkman. Venkman is hiding in the bushes as Egon asks if he sees Tiamat. Venkman then gasps in shock as Egon notes that, yep, he's probably there. And again, from now on, we're referring to Tiamat. If we end up calling him he, it's because the show did it. But rest assured that Tiamat is still female because they are a goddess, a Babylonian goddess, not a god. So that's the justification for it being on here. Egon then asks Winston if he sees Tiamat, as Winston says yes. Then Marduk arrives. Ray arrives in a gyrocopter. Obviously, he stole Little Nell from James Bond. He flies past Tiamat before he hits the dragon with his proton pack, causing her to recoil. Tiamat then shoots fire at the gyrocopter, causing Ray to crash and land in the lake. Marduk then tackles Tiamat as Ray walks away from the crash site, saying how the instruction manual didn't say anything about getting hit by dragons. And that's another funny joke. I gotta admit, that is a really good joke right there. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, also the fact they have a Ghostbusters copter. Now $17.99 at your local Toys R Us. Since this is the 80s, we can make that joke.
Well, now that it's destroyed, they might as well ask Peter for his Peter copter.
Now it's the Cleveland copter, lest we forget. Tiamat then launches Marduk away in a scene that really just looks unintentionally funny to me, because how it's done, he's literally just flung off and flies off into the stratosphere that it just looks so silly. I don't know if they didn't have time to animate it right or what, but it is something else. Venkman then notes that Tiamat sees him as the dragoness breathes flame at the tree he's hiding in. He then falls out, then says, "This one's for Smokey the Bear," as he hits Tiamat with his proton.
Remember,
Wow.
only you can prevent wire fires caused by a 5-headed ghost dragon.
Yep.
Tiamat then just roars again as Winston arrives riding a horse. Tiamat pops up as Winston hits the dragoness with his proton pack, causing her to run away. Venkman approaches Egon and Ray as Ray points the proton pack to him before Venkman has to explain, it's me, and another really good joke there. Venkman then asks where Marduk is as Egon says that they lost him. Winston arrives, saying that Tiamat is right behind him. Egon then says that they have Tiamat right where they want them, as they all hit Tiamat with their proton packs. And here it is, the most epic battle to ever exist in the history of history. Tiamat is hit with the beams of the proton pack, and she just roars and thrashes in agony before disappearing. And that's the last we see of her. This is such an unfulfilling climax to me. Like, Tiamat caused minimal threat to the city. That is such a missed opportunity here. Like, you could have cut out half of the scenes of the Ghostbusters driving and half of the scenes of them chasing Marduk through Grand Central Station. You could have cut that out and actually made Tiamat a threat. Maybe actually make her speak, because if Marduk could speak, why couldn't she? Do something with the character. Do something with this dragoness. Don't just make it like a generic monster. You could have made it anything.
What's worse is that the whole episode is like building her as this threatening thing, like, oh, only another god can destroy her, and we have to contain the battle because otherwise the city is going to be destroyed. Ah, no, she's dead.
This is one of those moments where this is 100% on Deke. Like, for friggin' real, guys, I know your whole phrase is do it cheap. Did you have to really do it that cheap? To Tiamat of all beings? Come on, guys.
I said earlier, and I'm going to repeat myself here, Deke just going, you expect us to pay Toei to animate all this?
You animated the opening, so might as well go the full mile, man.
Tiamat put up more of a fight against the kids from D&D than she did from the Ghostbusters, which is kind of sad when you think about it.
It's one thing when she's going up against a bunch of kids with mystical powers, because that's kind of up her alley. But it's another thing when she's going up against the Ghostbusters, she's like, oh, hell no, I'm out of here. My 5 heads are not dealing with this shit today.
To be fair, the Ghostbusters have something the other guy didn't have. They have technology. And then they start hitting her with their backpacks instead of using them.
Venkman notes that Tiamat is gone, as Twinson notes that Marduk is gone as well, as Egon suggests that one could not exist without the other. Egon then says that maybe it was for the best, as New York has enough problems without dealing with a Babylonian god. Venkman says that he'll miss Marduk as he cut to the Ghostbusters all getting into the Ecto-1. Winston then pets the horse he rode on and says goodbye to it as he leaves with the others. The episode ends with the horse looking to the camera, then transforming into Marduk, who then turns into a police officer and walks off. And as far as I know, they never appeared again. So you had a setup for like a sequel. Maybe you could have had Tiamat come back or something like that, that it didn't destroy her, it just banished her back to her dimension. But no, we just have this Babylonian god running around pretending to be whoever. Go ahead, Shark.
It's kind of funny how the Ghostbuster thinks that the guy's dead because he got launched by the dragon. And that's it. Like, Tiamat didn't bite them, Tiamat didn't scratch them, nor set them on fire. He didn't explode when he got thrown. So, why exactly did you think he was dead?
Exactly. Go ahead, Math.
I want to point out, since we've basically finished with the episode now, this was a rare Slimerless episode, and they pushed him hard as the mascot character for the show and series.
That's why he actually got in more of the show as it went on, because Real Ghostbusters continued for a very long time, but man, it went through a lot of weird changes, because the show's writing staff were then micromanaged by child psychologists who changed everything about the show. They felt it was too scary. They felt that some of the characters were acting too imitatable for children. Slimer, as Math said, Slimer took over more and more of the show to the point where it was renamed Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters.
Oh my goodness.
That's not the craziest change. The craziest change? They changed Janine's glasses from being their triangular shape to a round shape because, and this is not a joke, they claim that children were afraid of sharp angles.
Wow, that is...
Yeah, these people were nuts.
Yep.
That is inaccurate.
Real Ghostbusters actually fired back at the child psychologist. They did an episode called Janine, You've Changed, where Egon actually notices, hey, Janine is acting really weird and really different compared to how she usually is, complete with like changing the glasses and changing her way of speaking. It turns out the reason for that is because all this time she was possessed by a ghost, which, I'm sorry, I love that. That is like the perfect middle finger to the censors. It's saying to them, oh, okay, we'll play by your rules, except not really. Go ahead, Strkyer.
Earlier, when you mentioned that they even changed the name of the show to Slimer and the Ghostbusters, I can't help but remember in the video game there was actually a ghost that they took from one of the Slimer episodes.
Really?
Still, my favorite level of the game, the Return to Sedgwick, the Spider Witch. She's actually from a Slimer episode.
And it's amazing, just shows how good the writing on this show was, that even under this weight of so many ridiculous restrictions, and one thing I forgot to point out, they couldn't say that the ghosts were dead people after a while. They had to say, oh, ghosts are like beings, and they didn't mention that. They couldn't actually say that, oh yeah, the ghosts were actual human beings who died. It's crazy. Really shows how talented these writers were, that under all these massive restrictions, they could still pump out some really, really great episodes of television. Go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Like, a show like this that's able to keep rolling with the punches and still make some quality episodes in animation like they did, it's 100% impressive. Even with lesser episodes like, admittedly, this one. Still, really great to talk about.
Ghostbusters itself is still a very relevant franchise of this day. It's gotten, of course, the 2016 reboot, which we do not speak of. It wasn't terrible, it was just misguided, I feel. It had Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which I thought they were just okay. I don't know how you guys felt. I thought they were just okay. I mean, it was better than Ghostbusters 2016, and realistically, it probably is the best Ghostbusters movie that we would get nowadays, but I don't know. I really feel like nothing except like the TV show and the original movie, nothing has come close to those two things. Even Ghostbusters 2 is not really as good as the original. Anyway, go ahead, Angron.
I will admit that I 100% have a soft spot for Ghostbusters 2, especially since it was the first Ghostbusters film I actually saw. As for Afterlife and Frozen Empire, Afterlife, it was a good continuation and a nod to one of the actors who sadly passed away. And it was also, and Frozen Empire, existed. It had some good ideas, but never really followed through on them. So I mostly agree that the first film and the TV show are 100% the best that Ghostbusters has to offer, even with the second movie being a personal pleasure of mine. I will admit that trying to recreate lightning in a bottle isn't exactly going to be an easy one.
Exactly. Anyway, go ahead, Striker.
Going off of what Angron said here, actually, funny thing, Ghostbusters Afterlife is my favorite Ghostbusters movie. It's just a personal thing for me, to be honest. My grandfather was also a huge Ghostbusters. The ending of Afterlife resonated with me. That's why it's my favorite.
Neat.
That's also going to tie in the question of the week, which is, what are your favorite Halloween episodes / Halloween specials? I'll go first, and I actually have two answers. For my favorite Halloween episode of a television show, I mean, you know me, I'm the SpongeBob guy, so I am going to go with SpongeBob Scaredy Pants, or rather, just Scaredy Pants, because, man, that is such a classic, hilarious episode.
Indeed.
I mean, there are so many great moments in it. It has, ooh, I don't know who I am. It has the entire part, the party at the Krusty Krab. It has, of course, rawr, rawr, I'm the Flying Dutchman. And then Patrick, ooh, I'm the Flying Dutchman's best friend. And he's wearing a pair of Groucho Marx glasses. And then they run off, and the fish in the door is like, hey, don't you kids want your candy? It really has so many great moments. And again, it really gets the feeling of Halloween. It really is a special that there's nothing too scary in it, except, of course, for the ending, which we'll get to in a second. But it has that such vibe of Halloween, despite being underwater. And, of course, it also has some great moments from Squidward. I've come for your pickle. And, of course, a few minutes later, steal your soul.
Yeah.
But yeah, and of course the ending with the Flying Dutchman. First time we see the Flying Dutchman in person, by the way. So it turns out that we see what SpongeBob looks like, and spoiler, he manages to scare the Flying Dutchman with his pink hat.
Yep.
Yes, the pink hat, wink wink.
It's with Sandy's costume with I'm a goldfish in a bowl. I don't get it.
That was great, especially the edited version of it, which if you haven't seen that, definitely see it. And yeah, that's gonna be my pick for my favorite episode. My favorite Halloween special is probably gonna be a generic one. That's gonna be Charlie Brown, because that is so much fun. It's got great moments in it. It's really funny. It has a good Halloween vibe. And again, the voice acting, considering they're all like actual children at the time, is great. Music is phenomenal. And I'm sorry, it is just a classic, an absolute classic. And I would say Treehouse of Horror, but there are so many good Treehouse of Horror segments and Treehouse of Horror episodes. I would definitely be here for hours just ranting about all of them. From the Raven all the way to the Simpsons Westworld spoof that they did, because there are so many good ones to talk about. But yeah, that's going to be my pick. It's going to be SpongeBob Scaredy Pants, and is also going to be the Charlie Brown Halloween special. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. So, Angron, what would your choice be?
That's going to be a little tricky because there are a lot of Halloween specials that I have seen and really enjoyed. Top four that come to mind are the South Park Shining episode, where Stan decides to buy a Blockbuster and it just goes south for them, and they pretty much reenact The Shining in the best way possible, which is adorable. Third would be the Ben 10 episode where he becomes Ben Wolf, since they hadn't really named that yet, but awesome. Like, seriously, that is some prime TF stuff right there, as well as just introducing one of my favorite Ben 10 alien races, period, the Loboans. Second would be the Gumball special, where Gumball and Darwin and Carrie, of all being, go around and see how modern Halloween nowadays has ultimately soured the mood of many Halloween horror villains, like a Pennywise knockoff, Freddy Krueger, and also Candyman to an extent. I think the one that I'm going to pick is Underfist from Billy and Mandy. You could pretty much say that the entirety of Billy and Mandy is a Halloween special. Underfist is one of those things that definitely strikes a chord with me, with it being the one that I watched the most when I was still in elementary school. It's trying to be like its own, separate from Billy and Mandy and Grimm. And I feel it works for the most part, even if it's a little bit bizarre. Hot dang, this was one of those specials that I absolutely watched a lot, and I should honestly revisit. It's got Erwin, Jeffy the Spider, Fred Burger, the GOAT, Hoth Delgado, the Chad, and General Scar, always a joy to be around, unless you're actually around him. They're all pretty much facing a bunch of candy monsters, which is definitely spoopy Halloween hero fun, which I'm down for. And like all the stuff they do with it is both epic and just campy in a way that I absolutely can get behind. So yeah, I'm 100% gonna say Underfist on this one.
That is a great choice right there because, again, that is such a great special. And it's a shame because Maxwell Adams wanted to make Underfist into a series. He actually had 2 additional specials written out, and then the rest of it would be like episodes. And unfortunately, Cartoon Network went through some network changes, and the new network president hated Billy and Mandy. After everything he did, the president of Cartoon Network at the time called him into his office and basically berated him for ruining our network with your hateful farting cartoon. And that was their direct words. So crazy stuff right there. And it's a shame because Underfist had so much potential.
There were some sketches of enemies they're gonna have, like Ares was gonna be split in 2, like a nice Ares and a mean Ares.
Like a what could have been kind of thing because Underfist is so much fun. And I feel like you could have done a lot more with that. Like Mandy being the president of the world and that, Grimm being their Q from James Bond was a lot of fun. And again, it really, really gets that whole vibe down. But it's such a great way of a creative universe. And if you haven't looked it up, look up what Maxwell Adams' idea for his Billy and Mandy musical finale a couple of years ago, because that would have been phenomenal. And the fact we didn't get that is also a crime. But great choice right there. Let's see, Math, what your favorite Halloween special or episode be?
I could use a little bit of a trick and say Gargoyles yet again because they had an episode that took place on Halloween, including Eliza being in a Belle from Beauty and the Beast costume, the yellow ballroom dance dress, because Disney, if you don't remember. But I want to go with something that is in keeping with the spirit of Halloween, the idea of it, the concept. And I don't think any cartoon has done quite as much in its typical runtime as Ed, Edd n Eddy's Boo Ha Ha.
Nice.
Yes.
That episode is so good at getting across a child's idea of Halloween, and it was perfect to revolve that around Ed and his overactive imagination. Just the creativity on display, seeing all of these costumes become actual monsters in the way a child would imagine them becoming. This was a brilliant idea, and I can see why Danny Antonucci has said that this was his personal favorite episode of the entire series.
Yeah, I still remember that one scene. Ed was like, "Prepare to meet your maker," and Jimmy's like, "Antonucci."
Yeah, it's a great choice right there because again, Boo Ha Ha has really great moments. Just with Eddie also almost like being the inciting incident of it, and of course Ed rotting his brain with too many monster movies. And man, some of the attack scenes with like the slapstick is some of the best that the show ever did.
Yeah. And Ernie's not your salad bar.
Nice.
Just hearing it is great. Amazing, amazing. So anyway, Shark, what would your favorite Halloween special / episode be?
Well, one of them is kind of funny. Angron mentioned one of the Billy and Mandy specials because for me, it's the other one, Billy and Mandy's Jacket of Halloween with Jack Pumpkinhead. Yeah, it's really funny because first the character, the enemy Jack, is one of the best characters in the show. Even if he only was a pair of once, he was very popular with fans. In fact, there was a spin-off game, and he was a character in that game to show that fans really liked him. And yeah, it's of course a really funny one. Like there's a moment with the pumpkins where all the ghost pumpkins are really cool design. They're unique. There's a running gag with Irving where he has to change his costume because he just dresses up as pathetic things like a sheep herder, turtle, and all that. But it's not just a running gag. It has a payoff with the story. It's a really funny one. It's like, wow, they built up for this moment, and like you think he's going to have his big epic moment, but no, it suddenly goes downhill for him, and that somehow ends up saving the day, basically. Another thing I do like is that it's one of the few times we actually see like Grimm being like legitimately evil or threatening. Like when you learn Jack's backstory where he was killed and Grimm came with for his soul, but he was able to trick Grimm into giving him immortal life, and Grimm was like, "Oh, okay, Mon, you're immortal now. In fact, let's test that immortality now. If you can die, you do not need your head." And yeah, we don't see it, but the implication that the ho-ho funny loser skeleton just went out and cut someone's head off is like, wow, this is an actually cool moment for him.
Oh, that's pretty fucked up, man.
And I don't remember playing a game of that based on that episode very well. The pumpkin monsters, the items you could lose. It was really fun.
Same. Never beat it, but yeah, it was pretty fun.
Another one is interesting because it's neither a movie nor a cartoon.
Oh.
Mad Monster Mansion in Banjo-Kazooie is a Halloween theme level, and it's easily one of the best levels in the game. It's probably the first one of the very big levels you need to come across. The ambience is great, the music is great, all the locals are great. Like you remember the big house, you remember the church, you remember the well, you remember Mambo's hut and the pumpkin transformation. It's a really fun one. All the jiggies are fun and memorable. There's the flowers that say thank you, but everybody misheard that something else and all of that. It was so popular that it's one of it got a remix in Smash Bros. That's wow, the song is really that good. Even Sakurai approved. So yep, that's gonna be my answer. The Billy Mandy special Banjo-Kazooie level of the Haunted House.
Nice.
Great choices right there. Yeah, Jacked Up Halloween was great because I love how it showed that Grimm wasn't a joke. Like you said, that moment with him. I just love it because it shows that, oh, Grimm is bossed around by Billy and Mandy. He's stupid. He's ineffectual. But it shows that, no, Grimm really has an edge to him. He really has a way that, don't piss him off in that. And I love that. I really do like that they actually gave Grimm more of a menace there while still keeping him comical.
Yeah, I agree. It also helps that the same guy who did Zurg from Adventures of Buzz Lightyear did Jack as well. Also, briefly going back to Ed, Edd n Eddy's Boo Ha Ha, that one scene where I was like, prepare to meet your maker. Yeah, that wasn't from that special. Apologies.
Strkyer, what would your pick be?
Yeah, it'd absolutely have to be Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween. I still love that Billy and Mandy, and the show later on in life, I became more of a horror fan, and just I find myself appreciating Billy and Mandy more and more as I grow older. And yeah, Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween is really good. Even as a horror fan.
Now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where of course we're going to rank Dragoness in 1 to 10. This time we're talking about Tiamat, but it is a much different version of Tiamat from Dungeons and Dragons. And right off the bat, she's definitely going to get a lower score from me than that other Tiamat did because, man, there is nothing here. The design is good, but there is no characterization, and she's not even that much of a threat. If they actually showed her up, as I said earlier, like having her destroying buildings, or maybe tormenting people, or something like that, just anything that could give her a little bit more menace than just, oh, she scared some people out of the tunnel and she burnt some trees. It's like, that's it? That's all that happened? Such a missed opportunity, man. And I will say this, the design is good. I like the design. I like the multiple heads in that. But, man, there is nothing, absolutely nothing here for me to grasp on. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to give her a low score. I'm going to have to give her the lowest I will probably comfortably give her, which is a 5 out of 10. I would give her lower, except I do like the design. I like what they did with it. I do like that they have every head move independently of one another. That is a fun touch. But aside from that, it's all aesthetics here. There is no characterization. There is not even any real threat to her or any real anything. Like you could replace her with any sort of generic giant monster, and the episode would not change one little bit, which is a shame, especially for a character like Tiamat. She deserves so much more. So, Anyway, let's see, Angron, what would you give her?
Yeah, I'm going to go just a little higher since I like the design a bit more, and in the context of the episode itself, yeah, she does do what she set out to do. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Comparing her to other powerful world enders that have appeared in the series as a whole, like Cthulhu and literal Ragnarok, this is kind of a letdown, to be honest. Like, she's supposed to be able to be defeated by a Babylonian Superman demon over there, and yet she isn't. She's defeated by the Ghostbusters, which, more power to them for being able to take down a god, which, I mean, they've taken down demons and literal Cthulhu before. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that they just did not do much with Tiamat in this episode. Judging by what Math just posted, apparently there is a design of Tiamat that looked a lot more, shall we say, risque and humanoid compared to what we got in the show, which would have been decent, would have absolutely bumped her up a little bit, not by too much. But yeah, overall, I'm give her a 6 out of 10.
Math, what would you give her?
The design actually looks impressive when they actually bother to have her on screen, because Deke didn't want to pay the animation budget to have her on screen that much. The issue is, as has been stated by everyone else, she's just, hey with me folks, giant monster! No personality, no character, nothing. She's just a rampaging beast. That's all we get. Like, come on. Every other version of Tiamat has her some kind of presence or some kind of awe-inspiring visage or something. This one is just a big scaly dragon with 5 heads. Woo, spooky. Yeah, I got nothing else. I'm just going with a 5 because apparently the show said fuck you, so I will too.
Believe me, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I have the exact same complaints. But anyway, let's see. Shark, what would you give her?
Wow, you guys are being way generous with this version of Tiamat.
Oh boy,
Let's hear
here
it.
we go.
Because outside of the cool multiple heads, there's absolutely nothing here, because the dragon design is generic. Like, if I were to search green dragon clip art in Google, one of those heads will probably pop up. And of course, there's a whole big monster thing that gave us absolutely nothing. Like, oh, well, you just show up and roar and got healed, and that's it. You could get replaced by a random giant ghost, as Lud said, and the episode wouldn't change at all. And the worst part is that they build it up. They build it up. Oh, this thing is going to destroy the city. Oh, we were going to need the help from this guy. And nope, it wasn't necessary. It was something they added because the other ghost was good. They needed an evil ghost for the episode. Throw this in, but just to be here and do nothing. So I got nothing. You gave me nothing. I'm going to give you the closest thing to nothing. A 1 out of 10.
Damn.
Oh, this is our first 1 out of 10 in, I don't know when. This might be the first 1 out of 10 of the year, come to think of it.
Yes, and future wars probably.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. Wow, that is just really bad, just how low she got. Stryker, what would you give her?
Honestly, I was unimpressed with this version of Tiamat. Whenever she was on screen, it felt like they did the bare minimum to animate her, and I'm gonna have to give her a 4. This was the least impressive version of Tiamat I have ever seen.
Even something like Wyvern got a higher score than this, which really shows how much this show dropped the ball, especially for it being Real Ghostbusters. That's going to be it for this week. If you have any questions, or if you want to tell us if you want to see Tiamat actually do something next time, you can feel free to email us at fiarydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us at Twitter at twitter.com/fiarydiscourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Fiery Discourse YouTube channel and subscribe to the playlist. Like and hit the bell icon. Leave a comment. Any and all comments are appreciated. Next week, we'll be talking about the 1985 animated short film, Sweet Sea. This is something in the vein of Happiness, where it was an attempted pilot film for a toy line that didn't really get off the ground, but unlike Happiness, this is actually really good because of one reason. June Foray plays our Dragoness. Not only that, June Foray sings.
Ooh.
That's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. And it might be a little bit too sickening sweet in that, but we'll have to see about that. Hence the name Sweet Sea. But that'll be it for this week. Until then, take care and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween! Us busting makes me feel good.
And I just want to say this. we did an entire Ghostbusters episode, and we did not reference the Neil Cicierega song, Bustin', which I don't know if we should be proud of that or ashamed of that, but regardless, thank you all so much for listening, and see you all next week.
Peace out.
Bye bye.
Ghostbusters.
See you next week.